Hello, welcome to the 2016 Infrastructure Deployment and Security Training course. In this video, we're going to talk about migration points. One of the big things that we need to looking at how we migrate to SharePoint 2016 is we need to figure out what is our best option for moving our content, but also, as I stated in the last video, we need to look at what features have been depreciated, but also what new features are available. We also need to look at what do we need to clean up? Site collections out there nobody's using, sub-sites nobody's using, sites that are way too large, for our content databases that we may need to scale down. Just lots of little things for cleanup that we need to look at. So let's kind of go through some of the things that I would do as a SharePoint admin. One of the big things that I've noticed is a lot of people are using different web application configurations. One of the things that that you need to look at when you're migrating is how am I set up now? Am I using host headers site collections, or am I using the traditional web application configuration? Those things you need to take into consideration as you move forward. Is that working for you? Is host names site collections working for you? I know that one of the customers I supported were using that and didn't actually gel right with all the different sites they were using because they were from different areas within that organization. And what happens is when you have a lot of data and you're trying to run crawls, then the crawls take 4 to 5 days to run. So as a developer, and you want to have to run a full crawl to have something update, or something failed and you need to run a full crawl to get something to come back in your site, that's not feasible for you. So you have to weigh your options when going that route, because now, if you're using host header or site collections, you're basically, you're lumping everything into one web application, which really restricts you on a lot of things that web applications give you if they were separate. So look at that, make some changes if you need to, but that's some of the things that I've seen in the past where, you may want to just look at that as you migrate. You may want to break out of something, or you may want to go to that host header site collection configuration. The next thing you need to look at is cleanup. There are lots of customers I've been at where they do a lot of development. Some of them don't, but some of them do. Even if you don't, you still got, sites out there that you may need to clean up. But if you're running code, you definitely want to scrub and look at things and make sure that you're looking at all that stuff, to make sure that you have things in place going forward so they're not messy, and this gives you a chance, to basically do some cleanup. So, like your content database size, you want to look at that. You may have a database that's like, getting close to 600 gigabyte that you may want to scale down. So you may want to use your migration tool or something to make sure that you get those databases in more of compliance with the best practices. So 200 gigabyte is still your limit. There are different ways to look at that though, because there are different types of site collection configurations or templates that you can use. So using records management, you could actually do a 4 gigabyte size, or actually in 2016 it's even larger. So you can do almost unlimited, but it has to be a content database that's maybe on a lesser cost drive space, and also something that's not being used every day. Maybe 2 or 3 people using it, maybe to look at some records, but that's what it's used for. It's for records management. So you want to make sure it's low use. It could be high volume of information, but you want to make sure it's definitely a low used site. So check into your site collection, see which one works for you, see how you can clean those content databases up, split them up, migrate content off to other content databases, and kind of get yourself set up for success. One of the other things to look at too is blob storage. Using it now, how are you going to migrate that to 2016? Are you using a third-party tool? What is your next steps with that? So you want to look at that, make sure that you're moving those blobs over to your new environment the right way, and make sure that you're capturing all the links to those as well. Solutions, they should work in 2016. The platform for that is still supporting solutions, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem, and you may not even have to change much code. I would just test and make sure that your solutions work. If you're using third-party solutions, you want to make sure that those are still supported in 2016. It looks like a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but I saw a few vendors that jumped ship and just went straight to Office 365 and forgot about on-prem, because Office 365 is what everybody is aspiring to go to. So, so just make sure that you plan and, look at those solutions and make sure that they're right for you and if they're available for you as well. Do a code review. You want to make sure that you gather all the code that you've deployed to your environment in 2013, 2010, and you want to make sure that you're getting all the code that you have written and put in your site, that you migrated all that. So if you have event receivers or something that's running on top of SharePoint, that's doing something a little more way custom, then you definitely want to make sure that that's going to work in this new structure. Manage metadata and content types. Manage metadata, you have to be careful with managed metadata, because managed metadata all come with GUIDs. So if the GUIDs change and you have some code that you've written that actually refers to a GUID of a managed metadata property in your current environment, you want to make sure that that stays the same. You want to make sure you look at all that and make sure that any code that you've written, if it is referring to a GUI with a list or with anything in your current environment, you want to make sure that that's carried over, or that you change that code when it gets to 2016. Content types and managed metadata, you want to make sure that that's there first before you actually move or migrate your sites. So you want to make sure all that data is there, so when your site's migrated, that it knows, that data is there. Content database migration, look at your content databases, test them with the PowerShell, make sure you're not getting any errors, make sure you have no corrupted sites or solutions. You want to make sure that you don't have any missing features. You want to clean all that stuff up before you actually migrate a content database to your new environment. The big thing is you just don't want to have any trouble as you start doing patching and other things in the new environment based on these content databases. So again, migration is where you start cleaning up and, getting rid of things that you've always had a headache with, and moving a clean slate into a clean, new and squeaky clean environment. So that's going to be it for the migration points.